Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, we had just 2 shows this week. Today on ESPN, tomorrow on The Deuce.
And Tony Kornheiser. So you're saying this is the last one that counts, right?
Come on, that's not the holiday spirit. That's not the holiday spirit.
Not?
You got to do better than that.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. I'll come back tomorrow, and I'll see if I can do better than that. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Bears somehow beat the Packers. The first 4 college football playoff games are in the books, and DK Metcalf takes a swipe at a fan. But we begin today with yesterday's NFL action. 4 games, each with playoff implications, seemed to stand out from the crowd. The Jaguars handily beat the Broncos in Denver, 34-20. The Steelers beat the Lions in Detroit, receiving the benefit in the final seconds of 2 offensive pass interference calls. The Patriots beat the Ravens in Baltimore as Drake May threw for 380 yards, and New England scored 15 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. And Carolina at home held off Tampa Bay to take possession of their division lead. Wilbon, which Sunday win was the most important to you?
And Tony, asking that question, I'm going to parse words here for a second. If you ask me which was the most impressive win to me, I would tell you Jacksonville at Denver. Denver had won 11 straight games. I think that's the hardest place to win in the league. We could argue Green Bay, Seattle, Denver, but I know you and I are pretty much on the same page on that. That would be the most impressive win. But, Tony, the most important one is probably Pittsburgh over the Lions, because that affected so many things going on. I mean, we'll get to the Bears, but it pushed the Bears into the playoffs when they might have had to win a game that's going to be tough to win with at San Francisco and at home against Detroit. Detroit, it puts them on the verge of extinction. And, Tony, you look at the window for the Lions, and I know you have liked them for a couple of years, as have I.
Yes.
But, Tony, it looks like with all the injuries and they got free agents coming up and they're going to be people taking up larger chunks of the salary cap, that the window could be closing on Detroit. And Pittsburgh not captured, they're in control of their own division situation, and they backhanded Baltimore, which is in its own trouble. So I think I'm going to say Pittsburgh winning in Detroit.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you right down the line. I'm going to hold up all my notes. If people can see them, they'll see exactly what I've written before I say it. Jacksonville had the most impressive win. They've won, I think, 7 in a row now and 8 out of 9. And Trevor Lawrence, who you loved coming out of college, and I liked a lot coming out of college, he had been somewhat of an underachiever. He's not an underachiever lately. He's closing like a great horse. In his last 4 games, he has 14 touchdowns running and passing and no interceptions. So I give you that. Pittsburgh, I agree, is the most important win because they have turned their season around. They now look like they're going to win that division. This started when people in the stands hollered out, "Fire Tomlin." And the response was they won 3 games in a row. Aaron Rodgers looks like Aaron Rodgers at the moment. And please don't tell me that was not offensive pass interference. It was. He used 2 hands. I'm on St. Brown. Used 2 hands to push you off.
That's right.
Now, the Patriots have a good win on the road in Baltimore. Baltimore's not as good as we thought, but they're now 7-0 on the road, the Patriots. You know, and Carolina did what it had to do. But Carolina does not clinch a division, Mike.
Not out
2
of the
weeks
woods
down
yet.
the road, they got to do it again in Tampa Bay. So they just kicked the can down the road. So I agree with you. All right, well, stay with me talking to you. All right, Wilbon, let's not keep you waiting any longer. Let's get to the Chicago Bears' huge win at home on Saturday night in overtime over the hated Green Bay Packers. You were there. You haven't slept since then. You're so happy. Take us through, how did it feel and what does it mean?
Tony, I've been going to sporting events in Chicago, including playoff events and championships and ones where they skate the Stanley Cup out. I've seen all of that with my teams all my life, luckily, 60-plus years. This was as joyous as anything I have ever attended in Chicago that didn't include a guy wearing 23 in white. It was that joyous because it was beating the Packers. And the Packers, as Aaron Rodgers reminded us a couple of times in his late years there, he and they owned us. And you get tired of it. You get tired of the people up north coming down and just beating the Bears. And the Bears owned the rivalry at one point, but that was the 80s and the 90s. The Packers have owned it. And to win the game that way, Tony, it wasn't possible to win the game. The game was over. To even recover an onside kick, which they say is an 8% chance. At one point, the Bears had a 5/100th% of a chance to win the game according to whatever stupid metrics are out there. But I just sat there thinking, this is done. I'm angry. The loser of this game could really miss the playoffs. But to win the game with Caleb Williams throwing those 2 passes, one to get us into overtime, one to win the game to DJ Moore, it's stunning. It's one of the stunning games in a city that is used to big sporting events. It still ranks way up there.
I'm going to give a couple of numbers here because I think they're important for context. This is the first time since 2018 that the Bears beat the Packers in Chicago. It's a long time, and that's why Aaron Rodgers said, I own you. Over the last 17 seasons, okay, the Bears have only won 6 of these games wherever they've been played. 29-6, 35 games. So it's a huge win. I know you sat with your boy Richard Dent and you sat with the mayor of Chicago and you hugged the owner of the Bears, and it just seems to me, who did you hug? You hugged the president of the Bears,
maybe.
Right? Yeah, the soon-to-be Indiana
Kevin
Bears,
Moore,
as we like to call them in my house. So here's what I need, because I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you. The Bears this year have won 6 games now when they've trailed in the last 2 minutes. That's the most any team has won under those conditions since the merger. That's over 50 years. So I think you should do a Super Bowl video. You and Dent and Otis Wilson and Tommy Waddle. You should do a Super Bowl because this is the dream of your life. This is the dream
Tony,
of your life.
It is a joyous fall. Stressful because every game comes down to something crazy like Saturday night, but how can you complain? It's also magical.
No.
It is, and you don't use that term in a big city, but we're acting like little kids in Chicago right now.
No, I mean, I'm happy for you. Can I just I want to remind you of one thing.
What's that?
Beginning of the year, you were afraid they'd go 0-5.
Yes.
They're 11-4. They didn't go 0-5, did they?
At 0-2 with a 52-17 loss, is that what the Detroit loss was? At 0-2, having lost 52-17, I was terrified. Yes, I admit it. Now I'm overjoyed. Let's move to the opening round of the results from the college football playoff. Alabama trailed 17-0 on Friday night before bouncing back to beat Oklahoma by 10. In Saturday's games, Miami snuck past Texas A&M, Ole Miss crushed Tulane, and Oregon beat James Madison, though not as soundly as Ducks coach Dan Lanning apparently would have liked. Tone, which playoff opener stood out to you?
If I'm going to be honest, because I watched them all, if I'm going to be honest, the one that stood out the most to me was Miami and Texas A&M because it was so terrible for so long, for 57 minutes. It was torture. It was brutal. There was no offense. It was 3-0 with 8 minutes to go. It was 3-3 after 57 minutes. Now, the last 2.5 to 3 minutes were spectacular. Unbelievably exciting. You're at the edge of your seat unless you had fallen asleep because the game was so terrible before that. These are good teams. Miami and A&M are good teams. I'm not going to knock it. And yes, I know they beat Notre Dame in August by 3 points and 1 point. But if I played for Notre Dame or I rooted for Notre Dame and I had to watch this thing, I would say, come on, we'll play them both tonight. We'll play them both tonight. We'll beat them both. And I want to say this overall thing, and you can explain why you and I have a disagreement over this, about the college football playoff at the moment. God bless Tulane and God bless James Madison, but I don't think they belong in this tournament. I don't think it's a charity tournament for the gang of 5 teams. I think it's only 12 teams, and I think you get the best 12 in the country, and I think Texas and Notre Dame should have been in there and not these other schools. I think I'm in the minority in this. I know you disagree with that, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, you don't call the NCAA men's basketball tournament charity when one of your favorite schools beats up on some little school by 63. Teams. You don't call that charity. I don't care how many teams it is. Teams. It's the attempt to be national. March Madness is huge. What college football has attempted to do after years of being stupid and obstinate was to essentially copy the NCAA men's basketball tournament, even though football is going to get greater viewership. So that's what they're doing. In Congress, God help me for even resorting to Congress, there are going to be forces in this country that don't just say, give us the biggest schools and we'll just take a pile on the small schools, the group of 5 that don't have the same resources, and the big schools refuse to play. So that's that for me, and that's the way it's going to stay. Luckily, more people feel like me. The game that mattered was Alabama being down by 17, because you could already hear in the airport the announcement. Will Coach DeBoer please report to the airline the flight headed for Detroit is leaving in about an hour? Because if they had continued to lose that game like that, it would have been a mess.
Congratulations to Alabama and Miami for winning on the road. Last year, the home teams won 4-0 in this particular round. And I should also say, I don't know how you feel about this. Maybe you consider Oregon a Big Ten team. I look at A&M and I look at Oklahoma. I don't really think of them as SEC teams. I think of them as Southwest Conference teams or Big 8 teams. I just don't. I just don't. Let's take a break.
Same here.
Coming up, the Chargers and the Texans both win again. Which team should feel better heading into Saturday's matchup?
And what should happen to DK Metcalf after he took what looks like a swipe at a fan? Whatever that was.
By the way, the 3 leading candidates for Coach of the Year, Jacksonville, New England, and the Bears, they all won. Time to find out what's nagging the naughty and nice in mail time. Let's see what's first. I'll put on my glasses. Should the Chargers or Texans feel better about themselves heading into Saturday's matchup?
Well, Tony, you know, this is interesting because neither one of them beat a world beater. They remained hot by doing what good teams really do most of the year. If you're going to be good, beat the bad teams, beat the teams you're supposed to. I was less impressed with Houston narrowly eking out victory over Pete Carroll and his Raiders. A little bit more impressed with the Chargers scoring a bunch of points against the Cowboys, although everybody scores bunches of points against the Cowboys. So I think they did what they're supposed to do. I don't want to see these two as feisty as they've been. Chargers have won 4 straight, 7 out of 8. Houston's won 8 out of 9 and 7 straight. I don't want to see them face each other in like some first-round game. I'd like to see them maybe, go against the heavyweight, each one of them, and if they advance, meet and play each other in that next round. But they give the AFC a little more depth right now than it appears to have had.
So who are you picking? Who are you picking? The Chargers?
I'll take the Chargers.
Should feel better?
The Chargers narrowly.
All right, I'm going to go the other way. Yeah, I'm going to say that Houston should feel better precisely because of what you said, because they almost gave one away yesterday. They were at home and they won a 2-point game against the Raiders, who have the worst record in the league. I think they'll probably spend this entire week atoning for that bad performance and be totally jacked up when they go to play the Chargers. The game is in L.A. I think that also benefits Houston because the cliche is that defense travels. Houston has the best defense in the league in terms of points allowed, 16.6 a game. The tale of the tape for boxing fans is very similar. The Chargers are 11-3 or 11-4, 11-4, and the Texans are 10-5. As you said before, the Chargers have won 7 out of 8. The Texans have won 7 in a row and 8 out of 9. This is the AFC right now. It's up in the air. It's a jumble of teams. And these two teams in particular, unlike New England and unlike Buffalo, these two teams have been under the radar the entire season.
They really have. Look as good as Buffalo right now, though.
How should the NFL punish DK Metcalf for taking a swipe at a fan?
Well, we know now that the NFL has suspended Metcalf 2 games, and he says he's going to appeal. I don't know. I mean, there wasn't a punch that was landed. This doesn't look good. A swipe? I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's okay to say, I don't know. I guess the NFL, I don't know how much they could have investigated between that point and this morning or this afternoon when they announced his penalty. It's irritating, Tony, I'm sure, to a league to have as many spectacular things as went on this weekend to have to even deal with this. And Metcalf seems like he's been in the middle of stuff before. I just don't know. I'm not rubber stamping this. I need to know what was said. I don't know what was said. And if there's more video, let me see that too.
Yeah, so I thought that a one-game suspension would be adequate. Metcalf will appeal this suspension of 2 games and may very well get it knocked down to 1 game. I don't think he's going to get it knocked out, just maybe knocked down to 1. You say you need more evidence. The evidence, it's not like Dusty Baker looking at the cork bat and saying we have to wait till we gather all the evidence. All the evidence is gathered. CBS deliberately showed this. He took a swipe at a fan. They showed it. Everybody has seen this. I don't know what the relationship of these 2 men are. Some people say that this has been going on in other games. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what was said. I'm pretty sure of this, Mike. I'm confident of this. A player can't do this. Can't take a swipe like that. You got to walk away. You just can't do it. If it goes down to 1 game, that's Cleveland game, and he goes back into the lineup against Baltimore, which is probably more important. Enough email. Let's take one last break. Still to come, Phillip Rivers takes the field again tonight, this time facing the 49ers.
And the Sox and the Sox both made acquisitions. Which one, red or white, is more impressive?
Yeah. You can't swing at somebody or do that. You're a player. Don't do it.